back, everyone, and welcome to Joygasm, a video game and movie podcast. I'm Russ. He's Steve, and we wish you a happy Valentine's Day on this February 14th, 2023. We're going to be catching up with each other before going into our topic of the day, which is the Super Bowl movie trailer reactions. But before we do, make sure you click on that subscribe button as well as that notification bell. That way you will not miss a single solitary episode of Joygasm that drops once a week, each week. Steve, I think first and foremost, it is important to once again wish you a happy belated birthday, good sir.
Thank you, Russ.
Another trip around the sun.
Around the moon.
Around the moon, huh?
Around the Milky Way.
Indeed.
And back.
Indeed, Steve. Indeed.
All the planets did a once-over and around. And up and down.
Did they
back
now,
again.
Did they now?
That's right.
Did you do anything fun for your birthday?
I had peace and quiet, which was fantastic. Ate a lot of food. And a bunch of R&R, Russ. You know, I actually did have a workout. I got a workout in, I will say. I was feeling swole by the end of the day. I wanted to feel young, Russ.
Well, that's good.
So, yeah, I got my burn on.
That's good. That's actually a nice kind of action or
Reaction.
some kind of activity to do when one turns yet a year older.
Yeah.
That's very good. Did your wife get you anything for your birthday, Steve?
Yes. But am gonna receive it later on. What's gonna happen basically is she got me something to scratch off my bucket list. I
didn't know where that was going. I'm like, scratch it.
Scratch it. I got a back scratcher. No, so we are going to see Metallica when they come to Dallas. I believe it's in August or September. I forgot which day it is, but we're going to go see them.
Very fun. Now, is this going to be your first experience at a Metallica concert?
I wanted to see him since high school. I've never seen him.
Yeah.
It's going to be cray-cray.
I know you are a Metallica fan. Is there going to be another band kind of opening for them? I assume so.
There's going to be 3 bands. It's like a tour. That's like a 3-day thing. But I'm not going for 3 days. I'm just going for one of the days.
Okay, yeah.
So the day that I'm going to be there, Five Finger Death Punch is going to be there. Very wholesome band. Mm-hmm. And the other one, I'm not sure. I've never heard of them before, and I can't remember their name. But you probably wouldn't have heard of them either, Russ.
Probably not.
Yeah.
Probably not, Steve.
And that's going to be a Sunday. After church. No, just kidding.
Is it really?
It's going to be in the evening, but...
Yeah. I see.
We're going to be rocking the Casbah.
Well, that's fun.
It's going to be cray-cray.
Well, I look forward to hearing about
awesome.
it. You'll have to tell us about your Metallica adventures once you have it. And when did you say it was happening? Was it in 3 months?
No, it's going to happen like in August, or either August or September.
Okay, so it's a ways away.
But you see that what's different now than when I was in high school is when I was in high school, there was the mosh pit.
There was this thing called a mosh pit.
You went to the concert.
I believe they still exist.
You beat on other people. They beat on you. Mm-hmm. You walk away as friends. It's probably how the UFC got started. Who knows? But I never went to that.
No.
But now we're all middle-aged. Metallica's, they're got gray hair. You know, they're still rocking, but it's no more of the yelling and screaming and that much energy as it was before. They still got it. I mean, I've seen a lot of videos of them touring around and wherever and whatnot. Like, they still got it, but it's not nearly as rowdy as it once was.
I understand, Steve.
So I think it's a better time to see them.
Yeah. You know, I always wish I could have seen them back when they had done, I think they worked with Michael Kamen, who's a composer. And they came out with that one album where they had the orchestral
It's the
arrangement.
S&M album, Russ. Yeah.
That's it, S&M album. That's right, Steve. That is correct.
You got me that album for Christmas. I forgot what the year it came out, but yeah, you got me that album for Christmas there.
That's right. And what was funny was I actually really got into all of the different arrangements that they did because I mean, as you know, I'm very much into the movie soundtracks, and Michael Kamen is one of those folks who's very talented at that. And I, for one, really loved everything he did. Like each one of Metallica's songs, he just came up with these different harmonizing, complementary threads that just kind of weaved with what Metallica has already done. And I think, too, what was really fun about that album was that you could actually hear how much the audience appreciated this new kind of a take on their favorite songs.
Yeah. Pretty sweet.
Yeah. Did you do anything else for your birthday, Steve? Did you go to dinner?
No.
No.
No. Didn't even leave the house.
Plain and simple.
Played it simple, yep. That's it, Russ.
That's good, Steve. That's good. Anything else going on with you?
Did you get me something for my birthday, Russ?
No.
Oh,
No, I didn't.
that's nice.
Yeah.
Thanks, Russ.
I don't believe I did. No.
The thought seemed to pass my mind. I don't know.
Happy freaking birthday, Steve.
Thanks.
That's right.
Means a lot. Coming from you.
I'll take you out to dinner.
Okay.
Your choice, Steve, wherever you want to go.
Ah, shucks.
I'll take you out there, Steve.
Just as long as it's fast food.
You know, I can't remember the Italian place we went to. Was that for your birthday or was that for your wife's birthday?
That was mine because I hadn't been there.
Okay, so I think that was the last place I took you for your birthday, which I think was last year, actually. Well, you'll have to pick out a spot, Steve. We'll make it happen. So what we're going to be doing is actually talking about 5 of the movie trailers that got shown over the course of the Super Bowl itself. So we're going to be starting off with one that I am supremely excited about, which is The Flash. And so we finally got to see footage of The Flash doing his thing, getting a kind of a teaser of his abilities of being able to, like, you know, go back in time, be able to like jump into, you know, parallel realities or the multiverse, basically. And by far the biggest moment is the reveal of Michael Keaton donning the cape and cowl once more. And not only that, but then even hearing him say one of his most famous lines from the Tim Burton film, which is, "I'm Batman." I can't tell you how many times I've watched that trailer. I remember I even texted you like the moment after it ended and sent you a link, and I think I put in caps lock, "Cannot wait." So
You did, Russ.
definitely looking forward to that. I mean, there is so much to love about what I saw in this trailer. The fact that we are revisiting different types of situations, like for instance, the whole Man of Steel side of things, where we're once again seeing General Zod, and it seems like Barry is messing with what's going on, because if you recall in the trailer, one of the lines he says is he basically got rid of all the metahumans in a certain reality. And I think it may be the one that General Zod is in, where he just starts laying waste because there is no more Superman. There is, you know, basically there's no other kind of superhero to be able to defend Earth. And so it's probably going to be one of those like oopsie daisy moments that Barry has. And I think that may be kind of like the catalyst for bringing in Supergirl at that point in time.
Yeah, I remember they were going to bring in Supergirl a while ago and they canned the project. So maybe they took that or pieces of that and brought it to here. Never know, Russ. I'm feeling very Spider-Man No Way Homey.
Yes.
And this one a bit.
Yes.
Here's my thing, Russ. Here's what I'm going to say. I like the trailer.
You better.
I liked it a lot. But there's something that I've been thinking about that's been haunting me since.
What has been baking in your noodle, Steve?
I don't know how to say it nicely, Russ, so I'm just going to say it.
You never do.
I think they're selling the Keaton Batman instead of selling the Flash by himself, right? Like if they just showed the movie of the Flash and then saved like the Michael Keaton thing to the end, it would have been like, oh, I mean, it would be just like a really exciting. But that was the pivotal point in the trailer. Like I saw when he stepped forward and he got lightning and stuff, and he's like fast and quick and blurry and whatever, time space continuing. I'm like, okay, cool, yeah, I get it. And I'm happy that they're making the movie, and I'm happy they're making it. I just see the trailer, and then but everything changed when Michael Keaton went on screen. You see his face, you hear his voice, you hear the Danny Elfman music kind of was playing in the background. So, and that's when everything changed. But it came to be like, oh my goodness, I want to see Michael Keaton be Batman again and what he plays in the movie versus seeing more of the Flash. And that's what has me kind of cautious, if you will.
So I didn't necessarily have that same reaction because there were multiple moments throughout the trailer that really got me geeking out over the situation. Like there was the moment where Barry all of a sudden runs into another version of himself.
Right.
Those are always fascinating to me. I remember watching Back to the Future and how Marty would run into another version of himself, or you have Doc who would run into a younger version of himself. Even his girlfriend would run into an older version of herself.
Sure.
So like, I don't know, any time that Hollywood plays around with those types of encounters, it always fascinates me because my mind just thinks about the what if, like how would I react in that kind of situation? And not to mention like what are the butterfly effects of what can go on if you tamper too much with either the past or the future, or even going into other multiverse realities. And so, I mean, like for me, like that was a really cool scene. The fact that they revealed once again that like in the instance where he wants to try and save the reality that has his mother still alive, he's willing to go to these crazy extremes to make sure that nothing bad happens. Maybe that's part of why he tampers with getting rid of all the metahumans in a desperate attempt to try and keep her alive. But then in doing so, he ends up like putting that entire reality into peril. Or maybe there are multiple realities that have a domino effect. You just don't know. So like these kind of time travel stories are always ripe for like some very juicy, tense situations that I look forward to. And I love the fact that also they brought in, for instance, like the Man of Steel. Like you see the return of General Zod. You see, so it's not just like, oh, here's Flash and he's in like the Michael Keaton world of Batman, though that is a component of it. But I think that especially considering the fact that this was kind of like the first official teaser trailer, it makes me wonder who else is going to be in that movie, even if it's just a cameo. In fact, I went on to Instagram and went to Michael Uzlan. If you recall, he's the executive producer on every single Batman movie. I saw him give a lecture at Comic-Con actually in 2019. And I simply said, after watching the trailer, I said, okay, now the only question is, will Christian Bale have a cameo in this film? And he liked my comment. So, of course, it remains to be seen if that is actually a thing or not. But as far as I can tell, it just seems to me that James Gunn, who has taken over as basically like the chief creative officer of the DCU, he is most likely going to be using this film as the reset in order for him to be able to basically exercise his vision of what he wants to have happen within this entire universe. And Barry is the guy to do it because he has the ability, basically, by going as fast as he can and doing certain things, he can basically reset stuff. I mean, he can go back to the beginning of time. I mean, like the Flash as a character has really caught my attention just within the past handful of years, I want to say, because prior to that, it's like I only knew him as like, okay, he's fast, and that was the extent of my knowledge of it. But I have a friend who I worked with about let's say 3 or 4 years ago. He's the staunch Flash fan. And he really started to talk to me and explain about like what other types of abilities he has and how he really is like this key component in DC Comics in terms of like how basically like he's always having to try and fix stuff all the time. And as a result, like even like his sanity is really on edge because he has basically bumped into so many variations of people and how like if he doesn't, basically it's like the whole butterfly effect gone awry, where like he's trying to fix this over here and then he fixes that, but then it causes this problem over here and he has to go over there and do that sort of thing. So I'm also wondering if we are going to be seeing, and again, I'm not like an expert in the Flash comics, but I know there's like an evil Flash. I don't know if he goes by the name Reverse Flash or if there's another name, but I'm wondering if the other Barry that we see in this movie will become the other Flash that becomes like the evil Flash based off of whatever kind of like convictions and sacrifice they have, a difference of opinion or whatever else. Again, I don't read the comics, so I don't know. So my hope is that this film will be ripe with all kinds of things that will both tickle kind of the cameo fancy, but also too won't gloss over any kind of really deep philosophical time travel, space-time continuum questions and that sort of thing.
You know they're going to have 3 active Batmans then.
3?
They're going to have Batfleck.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to have the latest Batman. What's the guy's name?
Oh, Pattinson.
I was thinking Pitson. Pittinson.
Now, do you know for sure he's going to be in The Flash?
I don't know if he's going to be, I don't know if he's going to be in The Flash, but I mean, he is an active Batman.
Yeah.
They're making another movie. Mm-hmm. You know, they're continuing with his story.
Yeah.
So like, hey, he's an active one. You have Ben Affleck's Batman with the Justice League and whatnot. Mm-hmm. And then they're bringing in Michael Keaton. Michael Keaton might just be like, we're just doing this for this one movie, sort of thing. Yeah. But if everybody is charged up with Michael Keaton and there's money to be made, they're going to probably bring him back, not butt kicking and whatnot at his age. We'll probably use CG and whatever. But if he brings the cash, they'll have him back in, which means, again, 3 active Batmans.
Well, and one of the things that DC has talked about is how James Gunn's vision for what he wants to do, that's going to be basically like the main, DCU experience. At the same time that's going on, they have a name for it, and I can't remember off the top of my head what it is. I want to say it's something like DC Elsewhere, but I don't think that's right. It's something along those lines. They have come up with a label that basically allows for like the Pattinson Batman films, as well as like the Joker standalone movies. Those types of films exist within this bucket that they've created that apparently has no impact or crossover to what James Gunn is going to be doing. So that's how those films will continue. And I think that, if the second Batman film with Pattinson is a success, I'm sure they'll do a trilogy. I'm sure Matt Reeves would love to do a trilogy for that as well. So we'll just have to see, but I cannot wait for June to get here. I'm going to be, if they pull it off, like basically if it's not just a flash in the pan, we're like, oh, here's Michael Keaton and we're done. Like, but instead, and the trailer definitely points in this direction of like, I think Michael Keaton's going to have a significant part in this whole film, which is awesome. Like, I cannot wait to see how this whole thing plays out. This has massive potential to be my favorite movie of the year. And honestly, there are a number of films that are on the docket this year that has me very excited, but this is definitely one of them. Now, the second film that I have on my list here is also a James Gunn dealio, which is Guardians of the Galaxy 3. What did you think of the trailer on that one, Steve?
Looks amazing.
It does, doesn't it?
Looks amazing. I don't have any reservations on that one.
No.
Man, it almost looks like some of the comedy is going to be taking a backseat to the drama.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, if this is going to be the last movie with the bunch, then yeah, there might be some drama and some extra action. There might be somebody dying. Who knows? I mean, so I'm either way, I am looking forward to it and happy. If they're going to stick with the comedy or if they're going to stick with the drama, a little bit of both, I'm happy with what I saw. I'll be happy with, I think, whatever they decide.
Yeah.
But I was wondering when I knew there was gonna be a Guardians of the Galaxy trailer, I was like, what song are they gonna choose?
Yeah.
I'm like, what is it? So and of course it was kind of a remixed version of that song, but man, it's
Since You've Been Gone, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they repeated it plenty of times, Russ. Yeah. It's good. Yeah.
Oh yeah. To your point, what's so impressive is the song selections they've made already with the first Guardians of the Galaxy soundtrack, as well as the second Guardians of the Galaxy soundtrack. I have both of them on my iPhone. It's a wonderful compilation of old school classics. And it just goes to show like how many of them actually exist that are just like, my goodness, like this is a whole treasure trove. And, if the trailer is any indication, I'm sure the third Guardians of the Galaxy soundtrack will also be a must buy. I love how this is James Gunn's magnum opus. Like, he took a property that really arguably no one knew about, no one knew existed except for like, the small amount of fans that read the comic book, and single-handedly turned them into one of the most beloved groups within the MCU. To the point where, like, every time you see him come on, you just grin. You're sitting in the theater and you're grinning because, like, you have some of your favorite characters on screen. And I love how he was able to pull it off with the first film. And then the second film was just as good, if not better. And then it makes me really excited for the third movie because, once again, to your point, I think there's going to be some really funny moments because that's just part of their chemistry. But also, too, I think there's going to be a lot of heartfelt moments. There's probably going to be some tragedy. And I don't think there's going to be, at least for the foreseeable future, any kind of other Guardians of the Galaxy films, right?
Most likely, maybe not. Who knows?
Yeah.
But they did utilize every second of that trailer to show something cool and epic. And it wasn't. Yeah, there was a lot of action, but that was a lot of really cool action.
It was, yeah. Such a visual spectacle. The colors really just leapt off the screen. The compositions were amazing. I mean, everything is so creative and full of imagination. I just really love how this world of Guardians of the Galaxy has come into the silver screen the way it has. And even all the new characters. I mean, we've got some kind of like, it looked like an otter or a weasel or something that like looks like it's a friend of Rocket Raccoon's.
Yeah, that looks so cool.
And even the villain looks really interesting. And there were some other like weird alien creature things too. It's such like this fun sandbox that he created. And like the casting is so sublime. One of the things that I'm looking forward to is understanding how Gamora came back. You and I were discussing that after we watched the trailer about how in Avengers Infinity War, we saw Thanos throw Gamora off the cliff in order to obtain the Soul Stone. And unless I'm forgetting something, like I don't think she had any means of coming back. I mean, if you recall, that's why Star-Lord lost his temper when they were trying to get the gauntlet off of Thanos, and he ends up punching Thanos in the face, and that's, the rest of the heroes couldn't like hold on to him, that sort of thing.
Right.
But I don't recall, I mean, oh, you know what?
Yes, Russ?
I remember. Essentially, you had at the end of Endgame, they all came back. That's what it was. Essentially, like they were able. It was before and Tony Stark did the snap, but essentially, if you recall, they were able to bring back all the folks who were turned to dust. Remember that big climactic
but she wasn't
moment?
turned to dust though.
That's true. She wasn't turned. She was thrown off the cliff.
Back to confusion.
Back to confusion again. I thought I had remembered correctly, but Yeah, like because both Black Widow and Gamora, I don't think were a part of that equation.
Fertilizer.
So that leads me to believe the only other thing that comes to mind is that perhaps when Tony Stark did the snap to have everything go back the way it was. Oh,
that was I think you sneezed last show too.
I might have. That's what happens when you bang your wrist on the table. Somehow it just elicits a sneeze.
Allergic to wrist banging on glass.
Allergic to pain. Anyway, that is a good question.
Yes.
However, what's really funny is I don't feel cheated by seeing her back. I'm actually really happy to see her back.
Right.
I don't think I would feel the same way if it was Black Widow with a Hawkeye. You know, I think that would have been too much of a cheat. In her situation, though, it's like, I'm glad she's back. I like that.
I remember when we were talking about Endgame when they swapped Gamora or Black Widow for Gamora. And even before then, I was like, man, I really liked Black Widow. I probably could have given up Hawkeye, but I really wanted to keep Black Widow. And then I'm like, And then I thought they swapped with Gamora. Like, no, I'll take Gamora. I don't want Black Widow. Oh, man.
Yeah, that it is kind of irking me a bit to try and remember how things went down. Because I know they did the time travel thing in Endgame.
Yes.
Which had both Black Widow and Hawkeye going to that cliff, and then they had the whole, no, I'm going to go, no, I'm going to go, and then Black Widow ended up sacrificing herself so that Hawkeye could get the Soul Stone. If he did that before Thanos and Gamora got there, is that?
They might allude to it in the Ant-Man movie.
Either that or once Guardians of the Galaxy 3 comes out, I'm sure they'll have some kind of flashback or they'll explain something. I just keep thinking that there is something that has already explained it, but I just can't put my finger on it.
What about a toe?
I don't know. Maybe an elbow.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Earlobe.
The next trailer is Fast 10.
Fast X.
Fast X.
Your favorite.
Yeah. I cannot believe that they have made 10 of these Fast and Furious films. I cannot take these movies seriously at all.
They're not supposed to be meant to take seriously.
But it's like the way that they market themselves, it's like they take themselves seriously. It's so melodramatic, and it's always the same thing of family. You don't mess with family. Like, yeah, I know. You told us that 9 times before. You got anything new? But apparently they sell like hotcakes, Steve. They rake in the dough. And I know that you like these movies.
Excuse me.
You do.
I liked 1, 2, and 3. Once I got to 4, everything started to get janktified.
Oh.
I mean, I have watched them all.
Uh-huh.
Like the last one, they went to the moon.
They went to the moon?
What? What's happening?
Did they bring a car to the moon?
Yes. Oh my gosh. There's a whole thing. And I don't know. I'm like, where's the drifting? Where's the cars that you hop up to make them fast and cool and you race them?
Uh-huh.
Why are we doing world-changing events?
Yeah.
I just don't understand. And there's too much you guys are the only people who can help this ragtag of street racers. No one on the planet can actually accomplish anything done. I don't know. I'm picking up what you're throwing down.
Is it hitting you in the nutsack? Yeah, I bet it is, boy.
Nah. I don't think that one's grabbing me by the ghoulies.
Mm-hmm. The one thing, though, that does have my interest piqued is Jason Momoa. Like,
I know you were going to say that.
if there was ever to be a villain in these Fast and the Furious films that really like, ooh, I think I'd have fun watching that, it would be him being a bad guy. And I just think,
Which will probably eventually turn into a good guy. Just like Jason Statham, just like what was the wrestler dude?
Dwayne Johnson.
Not Dwayne Johnson.
Didn't he
John
turn-
Cena.
Oh, John Cena. Well,
John Cena.
Dwayne Johnson was in one of the Fast and Furious
He
films,
was.
if not two. I don't know if he was in multiple or not.
No, he's
but-
only. Well, I think maybe I can't remember. One, maybe two. I think that was it.
Didn't he turn into like a friend or ally?
He was an ally. Yeah. But he and Vin Diesel are conking bald heads.
Yeah.
That's why Dwayne Johnson made Hobbs and Shaw,
Right.
which was a split off from Fast and the Furious. And that's really where the family feud, really kicked it up, Russ.
Okay.
Like they're not on talking terms. I don't know what happened, but it wasn't good.
So are you interested in this movie? Are you excited for this movie?
I don't know if I'm really excited. I will probably watch it when it comes out to stream.
When it comes out to stream.
I don't think I'll go out to the theater really to watch it.
Are you sure about that, Steve?
Maybe if there's a 350Z car meet outside. Oh, snap.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see. I mean, it could very well be that we just go and check it out because everybody wants to see it, and you know, we'll talk about it or whatever. All I'm saying is I think that Jason Momoa will be the highlight for me personally for that particular movie if we go and see it. Yeah. But you know, we saw Brie Larson was in the film. Charlize Theron is making a return. It looks like there are probably most, if not all, of the heavy hitters that are coming back, which is interesting because it seems like that's kind of also a reoccurring pattern with these films where I think the show's creators think, yeah, this is probably going to be the last one. There's no way people are going to want to see another one. Oh, the money's coming in. Yeah, we're going to do another one.
Are you good? Are you good? Are you good? Are you good? Let's go on down the line.
Yeah.
You doing anything next year? Year after that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The fourth trailer that we saw was Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. Now, Steve, if you recall, Indiana Jones 4, which was the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull,
Yes.
it wasn't that good.
I did see that, actually.
Well, yeah, we both saw it.
No, we didn't.
We didn't see it at the same time, but we both
I
saw
saw it like last week, Russ.
Oh, you didn't see it back when it came out in the theater?
No.
You saw it for the first time, huh?
Saw it for the first time, Russ, and I will say it was not very good, but it was still better than Temple of Doom. I literally watched all of them,
Really?
one after the other, and Temple of Doom still sucks. It is terrible. It is awful.
It's not that bad.
I didn't like it whatsoever. I thought, man, Raiders of the Lost Ark, awesome.
Yeah.
Last Crusade, incredible.
Yeah.
And they could have easily made those both movies without Temple of Doom. And like maybe replaced it with something else.
So you mean to tell me that you think Shia LaBeouf in CG form swinging with a bunch of monkeys is better than Temple of Doom?
I think you have to go back and watch Temple of Doom again.
Oh, I own the movie.
I think it was terrible.
You're not a fan of Dr. Jones and going through all the booby traps and like all the nasty stuff going on and everything. That's fun. It was the darkest of the three. And I will venture to say that I do think that Temple of Doom is the weakest of the trilogy because I'm with you. I think Raiders of the Lost Ark and The Last Crusade are definitely stronger out of the three films. But it's not like there was nothing to enjoy from that second film. And when it comes to Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, like, first of all, Shia LaBeouf had no business being in an Indiana Jones movie whatsoever. And then also the ending was so disappointing. It was so lackluster. You're just like, what the heck? Like Indiana Jones is known for like the crescendo like climax, what's going to happen, how are they going to get out of it kind of thing. And it was just like, now I do think some of the earlier stuff they showed in the movie was good. Like I just like the visuals of seeing Indy and his element, that sort of thing. You know, I thought the scene with like the ants was a lot of fun.
I'm just saying, I'm not saying it was like a great, like it lived up to the first movies. I'm just saying I had a bit more fun with it than I did. I just watched the Temple of Doom. It didn't do anything for me.
All right.
At all.
Well, you heard it here first, folks. Steve prefers Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull over Temple of Doom. Says a lot right there. However, in Dial of Destiny, what do you think of that, Steve?
Well, it looks good, Russ. They're utilizing all the great camera angles,
yes,
and dynamics, which is a very nice refresher for the car chase scenes, motorcycle chase scenes, whatever's going to happen. So that is a very good thing. I watched an interview with Harrison Ford after Blade Runner 2049, and he speaks so softly now.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, we had a great time making that movie. You know, you're going, you know, speak a little louder. So I don't know how he's going to yell and hold up in this movie at all.
I honestly think that he has a history of doing that in interviews, though. Like he tends to be a little more soft-spoken than the characters that he plays. So I'm sure we'll have the swashbuckling indie character on full display. But
whippage.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think that this movie looks like it's going to be a lot of fun. I think there is going to be a bit of a mental block in terms of the fact that I know, like we all know, Harrison Ford is old. I mean, the guy he's in his 70s at least. I mean, he might be pushing 80. I'm not even sure how old he is. He might be like 78, 79. And my hope is that the way that this film is shot, it'll allow me just to have the suspension of disbelief, so that way, you know, I'm not constantly thinking, oh, that would never happen. Even though there are scenes that like totally could never happen with someone his age. But at the same time, Steve just looked it up. Harrison Ford is 80 years old. 80 smackers. So,
on the dot.
Wow. Oh. But what is interesting about this is that it is not being directed by Steven Spielberg.
That's right.
It's not being produced by George Lucas.
That's right.
So that's a bit interesting because it, historically speaking, has always been kind of like this brainchild between the two gentlemen. And now we have people who are completely different that are in the positions of creative authority. So that is going to be interesting. My hope is that they are able to harness the soul of what Indiana Jones is all about. And again, it's difficult because in this day and age, I feel like the editors for these trailers do such a wonderful job, no matter which movie it is that they're doing. And we've talked about this before, about like when we go see a movie, sometimes those movies don't actually live up to like the trailer. Like the trailer is so good. And then you see the trailer or the film and you're like, huh.
Yep. The trailer boys know what they're doing.
They do.
Well, let's just hope, Russ.
Indeed.
Because the music they were playing was obviously the Indiana Jones theme music.
The fanfare, yeah.
But it did seem like they kind of stretched it out a bit. Did it seem like it was a little off to you? Like it was a bit melancholy in a way.
No, I didn't.
Did you pick up on that? I kind of picked up on that a little bit.
I did not pick up on that, Steve. No. No, I do think that there are probably like different variations that they're doing on the fanfare, on the theme itself. And actually, I wonder if John Williams is composing the music for this film or not. Let me do a quick little search for that. That has me curious, Steve. Oh, came right up. Let's take a look on IMDb and see what we got here. Oh, by the way, the villain or one of the villains, who's Mads Mikkelsen. I love him as villains. If you recall, he was a villain in one of Daniel Craig's James Bond movies, in the Casino Royale. He was also a villain in Doctor Strange, the first Doctor Strange movie. And he's also, well, actually, he played a protagonist in Rogue One Star Wars story. He played the dad who was the father of the daughter, and he ends up getting killed early on. But yeah, I really like him as an actor. I think that he always brings it. Antonio Banderas is in this movie, Steve, and Indiana Jones. I didn't even see any Antonio Banderas in the trailer. Did you?
That is not how you whip a whip. Let me show you how to whip a whip.
John Rhys Davies, of course, was in it, and he's just absolutely phenomenal. But what? What are you doing?
Antonio Banderas.
Antonio, how you doing? Okay, let me go in here. I'm actually having a little bit.
Why don't you go ahead and go in there, Russ?
Of a challenge here. Oh yeah, music by John Williams. Fantastic. He's been going back and forth quite a bit lately with he is going to do a soundtrack to one of the series of movies that he's done in the past, or sometimes he's like, oh, this is the last one, I'm not going to do it. Oh, okay, I'll do this one over here. And he's over 90 years old. Talk about a work ethic. It's amazing, Steve.
Legend.
Living legend at that, Steve. Absolutely. So are you looking forward to seeing that movie when it finally comes out?
I am, Russ. I think it's going to be pretty big.
Yeah, I definitely am getting a good initial reaction out of what they showed in that trailer. I think that having the cast that they do in place, as well as having John Williams in the seat for the soundtrack, that's all terrific. Really, the only question I have is, will these new folks in the director's chair and the producer chair, will they be able to do the trilogy justice? Because I don't count Kingdom of the Crystal Skull as part of the Indiana Jones film library. That was something else entirely. And thankfully, there will be no Shia LaBeouf in this movie.
That's fine.
That's great.
That's fine.
Last but not least is Transformers: Rise of the Beasts. Well done. Now, Transformers as a movie property, I feel it's kind of in this weird state because you had like the initial trilogy that Michael Bay did.
Yes.
And the first Transformers movie, in my opinion, I thought was good.
It was.
The second one, not so much. But Dark Side of the Moon was actually, I thought, really good. It was the third film.
Definitely better.
And they were able to kind of really tidy up what was going on within that given storyline.
Sure.
Then they decided to go off and do the Mark Wahlberg.
Hey guys, what's going on, man? It's card. It's transforming. I don't understand. You want to do some reps? You want to do some bodybuilding?
Hey, you guys really shouldn't touch that because that's going to be a problem. And you don't really want to do that because it's going to make me upset. I mean, that's my tool and you can't really do that. Come on, guys.
Those were terrible.
Anyway.
Yes. Russ, please continue.
So those films were a bit of their own entity in the sense because they introduced some other types of well-known Transformers.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's you had this whole new cast. It was kind of jarring because, okay, in my opinion, the original trilogy of the Transformers films, having Shia LaBeouf in those was fantastic. He really anchored a lot of those films and his personality and his acting style really fit well. So you go from that into Mark Wahlberg And that was definitely kind of a shift in terms of like what we had been accustomed to. And it seemed like those particular movies, they struggled a lot with like having a cohesive plot that ran through all those films. Do you agree?
Well, yes, I do. It seemed like they wanted to continue the series, but didn't know if they wanted to appeal towards the older market, which would remember and love the Transformers, versus starting over with the younger market. Because I think what you're referring to with Mark Wahlberg was the Bumblebee movie, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, so actually, I didn't even get into the Bumblebee movie yet. I was just thinking about the Transformer films that had Mark Wahlberg in them. And then Bumblebee was like a standalone movie. And that was the first time that we actually saw the Transformers look more in tune with like their cartoon or comic book counterparts.
That was only the beginning, though. That was only like 5 minutes in the beginning, and that was it.
Well, in terms of like the epic battle, yes, but you still saw Bumblebee more or less like in that same kind of art direction. And it looks like this movie is continuing more or less in that direction as well. It's kind of confusing though, because like on the one hand, you see Optimus. Clearly his body type has been simplified. It looks much more blocky, looks, like I said, more in line with the comic books, with the TV show of old. But at the same time, it's like there's that scene where he confronts like that other Transformer gorilla type. And the gorilla actually looks more advanced visually speaking, like almost as if it calls back to the original trilogy.
Dinobots.
Dinobots.
I was trying to think Gorilla Bots. Gorilla Bots, not what is it?
Rampage. No, that's the
Animals.
arcade.
What were they? Yeah, Dinobots.
So anyway, that was one of the things that like I picked up on, was like, okay, it looks like they're kind of trying to find their visual footing, so to speak. Having said that, though, I really like both styles. I mean, I, for one, really loved the crazy, complex, photoreal version of what they did in the original trilogy. At the same time, like in the standalone Bumblebee film, I really also liked what they did with making it more, simplistic, if you will.
Looks like they're like Bumblebee's not going to be. Oh, he's in it, but I mean, he's not. Maybe being more of a main character, maybe just kind of a backstage character,
supportive character,
something like that. You have Mirage, who's kind of taking that Bumblebee spot in like the first Transformer movie, where he's the Camaro, he's driving around Shia LaBeouf, and drives Shia LaBeouf's like, I'm not driving the car, what's going on? Sort of thing. And so a lot of that is happening here, of course, with Mirage being the smaller sports car, quicker. And he has a voice, so he's speaking, so he's not just radio dialing. Although I like that.
Yeah.
But we have yet to see who else is. There's another robot that's there. You see
the Transformer, Steve.
Transformer, yeah. You see her sticking out of the Volkswagen bus. And she's shooting. I want to see I want to say that she was a motorcycle.
I can't remember. She looked familiar though.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, one of the challenges for this film, for me personally, is because the Shia LaBeouf trilogy really, I mean, they explored the idea, this theme of a boy and his car, like his boy and his dream car, and the relationship that unfolded.
Yeah.
So when I see this trailer with yet another, seemingly teenage boy, maybe in his 20s, early 20s, I mean, if I had to guess, he looked like he's between like 17 to 20 years old, somewhere around there. I do get a little hesitant because I'm like, we've already been there, done that. Like, are we just trying to swap out the characters? Like, okay, instead of Bumblebee, we're going to go with Mirage, and instead of Shia, we're going to use this other kid. And, it's going to be interesting. And it reminds me of a conversation that you and I had about how we really just want a Transformers movie that's just focused on them. Like stop with like the constant meddling in Earth kind of thing, and instead let's have something that's just predominantly within the Autobots versus the Decepticons. It just seems like they are still hung up on this whole like gotta put in a bunch of Earth stuff.
Well, I think it's that. Plus, it's honestly not to say they're rebooting it, but they're really pushing the successful franchises to make continuations of the movies that worked before. So I think that's what it is too. Maybe, Transformers had a bunch of money and they're running out of ideas. And so they go, well, we can start this one over halfway, maybe, with a new cast, bring back familiar faces, and see how it goes.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say for me, I'm curious. I'm interested in seeing how this movie is. I'm not as excited for it as The Flash or Guardians of the Galaxy 3. But I do think it's on par with maybe Indiana Jones, or maybe Indiana Jones I'm a little more excited for than the Transformers. I think if I had to rate them, I would think I would go Flash, Guardians of the Galaxy, Indiana Jones, Transformers, and Fast X. What about you?
Same order, but Guardians of the Galaxy first.
Okay.
Yeah.
Overall, I think that it was a really strong showing of trailers, especially considering the fact that they're all slated for this year, and there are several other films that are coming out that we haven't even discussed yet. And so again, as long as they stick to their deadlines or their release dates, I should say, I think that this year will be a really fun year at the movies.
The year to go back to the cinema.
Indeed. That wraps up this episode of Joygasm. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. If you enjoyed this episode, we invite you to check out patreon.com/Joygasm, where you can enjoy exclusive perks and early access to the show. Not to mention, it continues to help us financially do the podcast. Also, shoot an arrow at that subscribe button and smooch that notification bell. That way you will not miss a single solitary episode of Joygasm. It drops once a week, each week. And while you're at it, you can do a search for @Joygasm TV on your favorite social media platform of choice to get behind the scenes goodness and other drops that we do that are filled with all kinds of glorious nonsense. Last but not least, do a search of Joygasm TV on Twitch to see us stream our gaming adventures live every Wednesday night at 9:30 p.m. Central Time. We look forward to reconvening with you all next week when we do the review of Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantum Mania. We'll see you then.